et questions de suivi. Trisha, the microphone is yours.
Good morning. Thank you. Merci. Thank you for joining us today. As Tanya mentioned, my name is Trisha Estabrooks, and I'm proud to be the candidate for the NDP here in Edmonton Centre. Today, we are talking about the corporate greed that is driving up rent here in our city in Edmonton, but also across our country. Our city has seen some of the highest increases in rents in the last year in Canada. And the reality is, while you are asked to pay more for rent, corporate landlords are pocketing huge profits off of our backs. This is unfair. Everyone should be able to find a home they can afford in the communities that they work and they love and that they learn and they play in. And that's why New Democrats are fighting the rules, to change the rules, to end the greed, driving up rent, and to stop big corporate landlords from ripping you off. You deserve a party with a leader that has the backbone to fight for you and to stand up for corporate greed. Really happy to welcome NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh to our city.
Thanks so much. Trisha, we are so lucky to have you as our candidate. For the people of Edmonton Centre, they deserve to have a member of parliament that's going to fight for them instead of having a member of parliament that ends up in committee hearings on ethics. That's not going to help anybody. And as Trisha was saying, we know when we hear from people across the country, here in Edmonton, we had a town hall yesterday, we're hearing from people about the cost of living. People are feeling stressed out, they're feeling squeezed. You're going into the grocery store and spending more than ever before and leaving with less than ever before. And we also hear when it comes to housing. And as Trisha said, we know here in Edmonton, Edmonton has seen some of the highest rent increases across the country happening here in Edmonton. And we know on the other side of that, there are corporate landlords that are ripping you off. And all the things that matter, we're seeing more and more, it's corporate greed that is driving up your cost of living. And why is that happening? It's because the rules have been written to allow these corporate landlords, these corporate grocery store owners to rip off Canadians. And that has got to change. So for the past number of years, 9 years, we've seen Justin Trudeau ignore the housing crisis, allow corporate landlords to rip off Canadians. But what makes matters even worse is that in the case of Edmonton, one of the largest corporate landlords is receiving public help from the federal government. So this large corporate landlord, in this case it's Boardwalk REIT, is getting federal supports, federal money. They're getting CMHC-backed insurance to support lower interest loans. So they're getting this help and they're turning around and ripping off Canadians. That's wrong. And if you think it's bad under Justin Trudeau, it's going to be even worse under Pierre Poilievre, who wants to throw fuel on the fire of corporate greed. He's not going to stop these corporate landlords. He wants even less protections, less rules. He wants to allow them to rip you off even more. So we are saying no. Today we have a very clear message to corporate landlords across this country and here in Edmonton. If you are going to rip off your tenants, if you're going to rip off Canadians, then we'll cancel all federal support. Not a single cent of federal money should go to a bad corporate landlord. We're going to end corporate welfare for these corporate landlords. It is absolutely fundamentally wrong that they're getting federal help and turning around and ripping you off. So we're going to stop that. We're going to send a clear message. If you don't treat your tenants fairly, if you don't ensure that your rents are affordable, if you are going to rip off your tenants and not maintain a safe and clean apartment building, then we're going to cancel any federal supports you get. That's a way of sending a message that corporate greed has no place here, that we want to put people first. Let's change the rules so that people are the priority, not the profits of these billion-dollar corporations. Let's change the rules so we protect tenants, people that are renting, families, not the CEOs of these large corporations that are making massive profits. That's what New Democrats are all about, and that's what we're going to do. Do that again in French, and then I look forward to your questions. Je suis tellement honoré d'avoir une candidate comme Trisha Estabrooks dans notre équipe. C'est important d'avoir pour ce comté, Edmonton Centre, avoir un député qui va se battre pour vous, au lieu d'un député qui se trouve souvent dans les rencontres des comités sur les questions d'éthique. Aussi, c'est important, comme Trisha a soulevé, le fait qu'à travers le pays, on a une situation où les gens ils ont des grands défis. C'est plus que jamais difficile à rejoindre les deux bouts. Et particulièrement, c'est difficile quand les gens faire l'épicerie ou payer les loyers. Le coût du logement et les coûts d'épicerie sont tellement hauts et ça fait mal aux gens. Et on sait la raison pour laquelle on se retrouve dans ces situations, c'est à cause des grandes entreprises qui exploitent les gens. Et que les libéraux et les conservateurs, Justin Trudeau et Pierre Poilievre, ont laissé ces grandes entreprises de faire ça parce que leur parti, on écrit toutes les règles qui donnent tout le pouvoir aux ces grandes entreprises. Si je donne un exemple ici à Edmonton, ici à Edmonton, on a vu parmi les plus grandes hausses des loyers à travers le pays. Et ce qui est pire encore, c'est le fait qu'on a des grandes entreprises qui reçoivent de l'aide fédérale et puis exploitent les gens qui habitent dans nos appartements. Ça, c'est complètement inacceptable. Donc, notre message est clair. Si vous êtes un propriétaire d'une grande entreprise qui exploite les gens qui habitent dans votre appartement, on va annuler toute l'aide fédérale. C'est complètement inacceptable de recevoir l'aide fédérale quand vous exploitez les gens. Donc, on va arrêter ça tout de suite. Je veux aussi souligner que Justin Trudeau a laissé tout ça pendant les 9 ans qu'il était au pouvoir et que Pierre Poilievre veut jeter l'huile sur le feu des grandes entreprises qui exploitent les gens parce qu'il ne veut pas avoir des règles pour ces entreprises. Ce sont les amis des conservateurs, les amis de Pierre Poilievre. Donc, je vais être très clair. Nous sommes le seul parti qui est prêt de défendre les gens au lieu des grandes entreprises, qui est prêt de dire non à l'exploitation des grandes entreprises pour défendre monsieur, madame, tout le monde. With that, I'm ready for any questions you might have.
You talked about targeting bad landlords, and I mean, obviously there's some pretty clear examples of that, but everybody is raising their rent at this point. How would this program, I guess, differentiate between bad landlords and folks who just have to raise their rent?
Well, we can make that assessment pretty clear. I gave the example of Boardwalk REIT. Boardwalk REIT is a large corporation. It has increased their rents massively. So we see reasonable rent increases, that's one thing. But with Boardwalk REIT, we see massive increases. And Edmonton has seen some of the highest increases compared to cities across the country. So we're seeing not just small increases, but some of the highest increases in the country happening here in Edmonton. And that's hurting people. So when we see a massive increase, then we turn around and look and see that, well, you know what? That corporation is receiving federal help. I mean, that's just completely wrong. Like, how could it be that the federal government backs up with CMHC insurance the interest or the mortgages of these corporations? They get lower interest rates because of it, and then they exploit the people that live in their apartments. It's like the federal government's helping them exploit them. That's wrong. And so we want to send a very clear message. If you're a bad tenant landlord, you're a bad corporate landlord, you're ripping off your tenants, you're jacking up rents, you're not going to get any federal help anymore. No, it stops there. And we want to make that very clear. We're the only party that's prepared to do that. There's significant levers the federal government has to go after these bad actors. We want to use the tools we have to stop them from ripping you off.
You also talked obviously about rising rents and a little bit of rent control. Rent is primarily a provincial jurisdiction. I know you have obviously how you can target it at the federal level, but how do you push for that here in Alberta when, you know, the province just opted out of the dental program, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear that the Conservative government in Alberta is making decisions that hurt people every day. And it's no surprise that they're not willing to stop corporations from ripping out people or landlords from ripping out renters. It's clear that Danielle Smith is not interested in protecting people. She's more interested in helping out her friends. And the fact that I think the first question when it comes to the dental care is, why would Danielle Smith want to take away dental care that's being paid for seniors by the federal government? Why would you want to get that? Why would you want to take that away? Why is it something
get back online. Please email me any questions you may have, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Je suis vraiment désolée, mais je pense pas qu'on va être en mesure de revenir parce qu'il fait trop chaud, puis je pense qu'à cause de la chaleur, le matériel a trop surchauffé. Pour toute question, je vous inviterai de m'envoyer un courriel avec votre question, puis je vais faire de mon mieux pour vous répondre. Vraiment désolée. Sorry for the inconvenience.